everybody, this is Jason Wilson with Ursula & Associates. Today we're going to talk about closing costs, what they are, what people think they are, and what that actually means to you. So when people think closing costs, they're often confusing costs charged by the lender versus the cash they need to bring to closing. So the cash you need to bring to closing is going to include three main categories for you. So the first category is going to be the closing costs themselves, which we'll talk about that in just a second. The second main category is going to be your down payment. That's the amount that you're putting down on the actual purchase you're making. The third thing is your prepaids. Prepaids are entirely different. So we'll start with prepaids and work our way backwards so that there's clarity in this. Because a lot of people think that closing costs are all the money I need to bring to closing, all the fees that the bank charges, or all expenses in general. And it's really a combination. So the first thing that we'll go over is prepaids. Prepaids is going to be your insurance policy on the house that you get from whatever insurance vendor, like Country Financial. When you get that insurance and it's $1,200 for the year for them to cover the house, that needs to be paid at closing. However, that is something you would need to get anyway. They just make you get it at closing so the house is insured if it were to catch fire, that it could be rebuilt and the bank that just loaned you the money would be there, right? So that's the first thing in there. So prepaids can do that, as well as be your escrow account. If you're not putting down 20% and you have not asked for an escrow waiver, they're going to require that your monthly payment include money to go into a deposit account that the bank holds for you, and they pay your taxes and your next year's insurance. So they have to fund that account, usually somewhere in between 3 and 6 months worth of those fees up front, so that when the next bill comes due, they have the funds to be able to take care of it. So that's going to be one of those. The down payment is literally just that, your down payment. If you're getting a conventional loan that's an 80% loan to value, then you're putting down 20%. So this would simply be, in this scenario, 20%. This has nothing to do with your closing costs or prepaids. This is simply what you're putting into there. The seller cannot pay this for you. This is something that has to come from you. Now, the seller can pay up to a portion of your closing costs depending on the kind of loan. The closing cost is going to be the fees that the bank charges you, the underwriting, the attorney's fees, pretty much everything else that is fee related. Most of it is not charged by the lender themselves. They're simply estimating what third-party costs are for a lot of it. They usually only charge those few fees we just talked about. Underwriting, any discount points to buy down the rate, appraisal fees, etc. So that's what they charge in there. So for example, one of the lenders that we use most, all of those fees combined for him is approximately $1,250. So when you get estimated closing costs of $7,500, they're really only charging $1,200. The rest of it is going to be doc stamps, fees, prepaids, all of those things, excluding your down payment. When they say you need to send X amount of money to closing, that's going to be the entire thing. So we'll give a hypothetical example. You are buying a house, we'll do easy numbers, for $100,000. We all wish, right? We wish the houses were still that priced. $100,000. You're going to buy this, you're putting 20% down. So that means you're going to bring $20,000 in a down payment. The seller's not paying any of your closing costs or prepaids. So let's just say your closing costs and prepaids for everything on this particular transaction is $6,000. So if that's true, then what you're going to wire into the closing is $26,000 to cover your closing costs, your prepaids, and your down payment all together, and you will walk out with a loan that you owe on the house for $80,000. That's how the math works out on this. So I hope this creates a little bit of clarity in the difference when one lender tells you, hey, your closing costs are $4,000, and another one tells you they're $7,000. It's not that other bank is charging you $4,000 more. It's one of them's probably not giving you all of the prepaids as part of the closing costs. They're breaking them out. And so clarity is power. Thanks so much for being with us. I hope this was helpful, and we'll see you next time.